any vendor agreement, any third party that's getting access or housing an organization's data, A, there should be certain promises in terms of how they can protect that data. That's written into the agreement. Should there be data breach, that they're going to cover the organization for regulatory notification, credit monitoring, whatever it is. There should be definitely a breach notification section that within 48 hours, they'll notify the organization that there's been a data breach or reasonably suspect that there's been a data breach. There have been a lot of organizations in the past, vendors, I won't mention names, but one very large nonprofit services vendor that had a breach and didn't let clients know until 7 months later, which got a lot of press a couple of years ago. So having that requirement in an agreement, and then also requiring the vendors that if there's a data breach, again, that they cover your costs. I've never actually had a vendor say no to that. It's a reasonable request, and they may try to put some limits in it, but it's something you should always ask for. Limitation of liability. Most vendor agreements, the standard form is you're limited to 6 months of fees. That's it, no matter what happens. You need to carve out certain things, and certainly a data breach needs to be carved out from the limitation of liability. If not unlimited, then it needs to be what we call super cap insurance requirements. You need to make sure any kind of reasonably large size or even mid-size vendor will have a robust insurance policies, including a cyber policy. You want to make sure those are listed in the agreement. You want to make sure the organization is actually named as an additional insured and indemnified for anything that happens. So it just makes it easier if there's a claim to try to get that money from the insurance company. All really important things. The last thing I would throw in there is having a term about transition. Sometimes vendors just don't work out. Sometimes you feel vendors aren't doing the right thing on the back end. So I always build in both a termination for convenience after a certain term, and then requiring the organization to give you transition services. Often the hardest part for a small to mid-sized organization transitioning to another vendor is getting the data from one place to another. And a lot of organizations, a lot of vendors say they just won't help in order to keep the organizations with them. So having that provision in also gives the organization more flexibility to move when they need to.